Here's the thing. Nostalgia is hard to overlook when you're attempting to fairly review a game for what it is. I'm a huge Pokemon fan. The video games, the show, the cards, and the movies, I've experienced it all and I've loved it. Pokemon was a huge part of my childhood, and so I could see where people would say I'm biased towards the game. However, I think what it really has done for me as I've gotten older is make me more picky and mindful of what I like in a Pokemon game and what I don't. So, in today's video, I'll let you know what I feel about Pokemon Sword and Shield and what I really don't like. Let's press start. I don't think the controversy with these games can be ignored. If you haven't been on the internet in the past 12 months, I'll explain it briefly. Many diehard fans of the series got very upset when they heard the game would not feature the Pokemon from every other game, and instead feature only around 400. Many gamers threatened to boycott the games and vowed to never support Game Freak, the developer, again. Sword and Shield also had a lot of details leaked before the releases. They showed bad graphics and character models, so understandably many gamers, including myself, went into the game very skeptical. Was the jump to home consoles going to be too much for Game Freak to handle? Would they ruin our beloved series? Well, I can tell you neither of those questions would result in a yes. The game looks good. It's not on the level of a Super Mario Odyssey or Luigi's Mansion 3, but it is a noticeable jump from the games on the 3DS. The games still control relatively the same, it doesn't feel like a new experience from that standpoint, but they did add a feature that allows you to take control of the camera in the wild area. Every other situation, like being in a town or in a gym battle, you're going to have the traditional fixed camera when walking or running around. However, speaking about the wild area, it is for sure where the game shines. It's surprisingly bigger than I expected. Game Freak claims that the wild area is roughly the size of 2 biomes or areas in Breath of the Wild, and I don't really know how much truth there is to that, but hopefully it gives you a mental image of just how big the size of the wild area is. You're constantly seeing new and exciting Pokemon roaming the area, some determined by location, and others by weather that changes based off your location and day of the week. You see thunderstorms, sandstorms, snow, and calm pastures. You can walk the entire area on foot or use a bike to traverse around fairly fast. The main attraction of the wild area is the dens scattered across the map and the Pokemon that are inside. These dens will occasionally light up, which means a Pokemon is in there and that you can catch that Pokemon. These Pokemon inside are Dynamaxed or Gigantamaxed Pokemon, which means they're larger, taller, more powerful versions of their normal self, and they gain star rankings to tell you how difficult they're going to be from 1 to 5. You can take on these dens in teams of 4, which you can set up with people or friends online, or you can choose to do it offline and the game will give you AI partners to help fill in the spots. Beating the Pokemon gives you a chance to catch them, and that becomes increasingly harder as the ranking of the stars goes up. 1 is fairly easy, where 4 and 5 are going to require you to use maybe an Ultra Ball to catch them, but the battle itself is going to be harder. Catch the Pokemon, or don't. Still, after beating the den, you will be awarded many different items that you can use to level up your Pokemon, TMs to teach new moves, or food to make at campsites. I personally never used the campsite. It felt like a 1 or 2 use novelty that I didn't find really interesting at all. You can cook meals for you and your Pokemon, or even play with them so that they can gain experience. There is some fun to be had in the campsites, but it just really wasn't for me. The rest of the game is pretty much the Pokemon gameplay that we've come to expect from the series. You have a story that you progress through while beating gym leaders along the way, you gain a certain amount of badges that eventually let you fight the champion, and the story, which always includes a legendary Pokemon, weaves in between that journey to be the champion. I won't lie and say that the tried and true storyline and gameplay is beginning to feel stale. There's not much innovation here from the series, and I guess you would expect something new by this point, but there really isn't. The rival isn't the best in the series, but I didn't hate him. If anything, I enjoyed the relationships you build with the gym leaders, supporting characters, and the champion the most. They aren't as flat characters this time around that you just talk to one time. The story does a good way of building them in, and you learn more about them. Post-game content gives you a little more story to play through, which has become standard for the series in the last few games, and the inclusion of a battle tower gives you another option to grind through. However, what I think will ultimately keep the game alive is the wild area and how much fun you can have there, and the fact that Game Freak made it easier to switch out Pokemon in your party without fast traveling to a town. Also, the fact that you can shiny hunt even easier than ever, it's more accessible, will keep people around. If Game Freak continues to add raid events throughout the year that gamers can be excited about, then I think people will come back to the game. Pokemon Sword and Shield are good Pokemon games. They're not the best in the series, and I don't think hardcore fans will argue that against me. The wild area and the jump to home consoles are enough this time to keep fans still excited in the series in my opinion. However, if there isn't some more innovation in the next few years, in the next few games, it may be hard to keep those fans. The game at the end of the day is just another Pokemon game with one big gimmick, and if you're a huge fan of the series, that could probably be enough for you. But if you're not, you may lose interest in the game once you complete the main story. All in all, I enjoyed my 40-ish hours with the games, but I keep finding myself wishing for more. Maybe the nostalgia is finally rubbing off on me, and me wanting new things is hurting my overall experience. However, I still recommend picking up Pokemon Sword and Shield. I think there's still enough here for people to enjoy the game and make it worth picking up. Thanks for watching the video, where Let's Discuss Games, and I'm Aaron. If you enjoyed the video, you can expect more video game related content from us in the future. We review, discuss, and argue about all things video games, so please consider subscribing to see more of us in your feed. However, we've got more games to play, and we're sure you do too. So, game over.